Can a narcissist co-parent? Are you guys parenting right now with a toxic person, with a narcissist? A lot of times people struggle with the concept of like, how do I actually deal with being with a narcissist? How do I deal with going through this process? Because a lot of times when you're with a toxic person, you're not able to co-parent. Like, it seems like everything you do is an attack on you. Everything that you do, they're flipping it back on you. Everything that you do is switching it around. You're like, I don't even know how I'm supposed to be able to function in this relationship. And typically you see this happen where you want this person to be in your life. You want this person to be in your kid's life. You want this person to show up to be a good father, a good dad. Like you want them to actually be there to be able to help. Okay. But the hard thing you have to remember is if you're with a narcissist and you're trying to co-parent, how that person is showing up on a day-to-day basis to you is going to be the same way that they're doing it to your kids. Okay. You need to be able to understand that. The narcissist does not care about you. The narcissist also won't care about your kids. The hard part is you don't see that initially. You think, well, he's going to show up. He's going to be a good dad. Like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be something that I actually want to have him in his life. But then you start to realize slowly but surely that is not a positive influence on his life. Now, a lot of times narcissists are going to look like they're engaged, look like it's going well for a period of time. And so, like, a piece of it, you'll see oftentimes from 0 to 2, 3, you kind of see them disengaged. Why? Because the kid actually isn't giving anything in the relationship. The kid actually isn't making it any better. Then you see typically like 4 to 11, 13. That's when you see the narcissist like all of a sudden engage. Disneyland dad, Wonder Woman mom, like the best thing ever. And looking and acting a certain way because of what they're able to do, or because they're able to engage and make the kid feel like it's the most amazing thing ever. They can gaslight them. They can lie to them. They can paint a different picture so they think that they're a great parent. And then what happens? As they get older, sometimes 13, 14, 15, then they start seeing, a lot of them people start seeing, if they've grown up in it, lots of these things start seeing, wait a second, this person's toxic. And they'll start pulling back. Now, does it always happen that way? No, there's a lot of different exceptions. Sometimes you have the kids all the way up into their mid 30s until they realize that they've been with a covert narcissist or parent. We see this happen all the time. Are you co-parenting right now or trying to co-parent? Like, are you at this place? Because a lot of people are stuck with their kids in a toxic environment and they're not sure what to do. They're not sure how to be able to move forward. One of the things you need to understand is we need to be able to work on the communication piece. Okay. So what do I mean by that? With the communication piece, I'm talking about how you're actually interacting and communicating with the narcissist, with the toxic person. Like, this part is key. Now, if you go through the custody battle, if you go through the whole section where you're getting down to the place of like, hey, we're going to divorce, get a communication agreement. Get something there that you can actually say, hey, this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to go through this process. You're only supposed to communicate on these days. We're only going to text on these days. We're not going to have FaceTimes with me. You can have FaceTimes with the kids on their devices. Like, there's a lot of different pieces we can set up. The biggest thing is when you're thinking about co-parenting with a narcissist, you're trying to like pull it a little bit aside. You're trying to create space and create capacity so that you can actually interact in a healthy way that's not going to be triggering you. That's not going to be putting you out of sorts. It's going to help you actually break the trauma bond. You can't do that if you're constantly getting triggered nonstop. So being able to set up healthy ways to have that separation. A lot of times people will use a co-parenting app. Okay, so you got Talking Parents, you got My Family Wizard, you got a bunch of different apps. Okay, you can get a family app and do all your communication on there. Certain one lets you do video, lets you do calls, a lot of different things. Okay, because you need to be able to understand like the whole goal with this is to be able to get space. Okay, to be able to get to the place where you have the space to be able to work on you and to be able to work on your growth. Okay, but trying to get this in a co-parenting app is absolutely essential. My husband's bipolar narcissistic. He's manipulative as hell, tries turning them off. I wrote off the first kid steps on race one. close to me, I haven't talked in years. Like, a lot of times narcissists are gonna try to switch the kids around on you, try to turn. Moral of the story, you can't co-parent with a narcissist, okay? There's another aspect called parallel parenting. The whole aspect of parallel parenting is where you have your separate life, they have their separate life, okay? And what this does, it has the communication only work in those certain aspects of like what has already been agreed upon inside the communication agreement. Okay, so basically, you've got your son, and it's got a doctor's appointment, it falls on your day, you take the son to the doctor, he doesn't have anything to do with it. Okay, then you have a day where son has another doctor's appointment on his day, he takes him to the doctor. Okay, so like parallel parenting is living separate lives. Now, a couple things you need to understand is when you're interacting with a narcissist, one of the biggest things is that communication piece. Okay, so I mentioned third party communication, like being able to have a communication or like a parenting app. I didn't have my speakers on. No, it was on. So nothing was coming through. I didn't hear anything. Y'all were the only who heard anything. Okay, but like using that. Sometimes people use a third party, like an actual other person, where they never even communicate with the narcissist. They go through a third person. Other times you can do it just in the aspect of email. Like everything is only going to be email. Like we see a lot of times it works great. Where when you actually able to use the communication through email, it gives you time to be able to process, to be able to think, is this how I want to respond? Is this how I want to be able to go through this? And to be able to move to like the next step before you just react. Okay, before it just like pops up. So you be able to understand like in this aspect, you need to create space. You need to create this boundary in between dealing with like what is actually happening in the communication. Sometimes people use third party drop off. Okay, when you're dropping off kids, like I know some people that they actually like drop off their kids at the police station and the nurses picks them up. Like no communication, no interaction at all. What you need to understand is you're going to have a time where the nurse is going to call you. Going to call the kids and use the kids to speak to you. Okay, so he's not actually calling you, but it'll come across that way. It'll look that way. Okay, you're going to see this time and time again. A lot of times we'll see the narcissist will like FaceTime one of the kids. And then while the kid's on FaceTime, they're walking around. He sees you in the background. He's starting to say little things, starting to do things to confuse you, to get you to a place of reacting. You see this all the time. The narcissist wants you to react, wants you to respond to the things that are going on. Okay.